This may just be as good as it gets for the Wizarding World series. I'm dead serious. Black. No, I'm not. That's Gary Oldman. I will never apologize for an opportunity for a bad pun because it was right there in front of me. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Yes, we are trudging right along in the Wizarding World series in the build-up to Secrets of Dumbledore hitting theaters this April, and here we are talking about what is arguably the best out of all of them so far. Chris Columbus decided not to return to direct this movie, and instead his shoes are filled by Alfonso Cuarón, who made an absolutely stunning feature here. Every frame is dripping with absolutely magical brilliance. The opening walk Harry takes away from the Dursley's house after a very fun scene where his Aunt Marge gets blown up like Violet Beauregarde. I'm just talking about the simple moments like the merry-go-round turning on its swivel with the oh-so-creepiest creak. That abandoned playground is giving you this grim feeling of dread that's coming. Of course, along with seeing the grim itself, that predatorial dog staring at Harry from across the street. This is all leveled out after Harry is rescued into a fun action sequence featuring the night bus. Yeah, take it away, Ernie! It's gonna be a bumpy ride!
Ernie, little old lady at 12 o'clock!
Yeah, that's all well and fun itself, but get this, we weren't even at Hogwarts yet, and it was already so fun. The school year itself starts off pretty rocky when Harry learns about deranged killer Sirius Black, who has escaped from Azkaban, and he is hell-bent on murdering Harry out of revenge. Or so we think. More on that in a bit. Rupert Grint and Emma Watson are once again fantastic as Ron and Hermione, very much arguing like an old married couple in here about how Crookshanks should be kept away from Ron's prized rat, Scabbers. Yeah. Scabbers. Heavy air quotes for a reason. And these three kids together, once again, every single one of them is on top of their game. Daniel Radcliffe especially gets a lot of incredible moments in Prisoner of Azkaban. And their scene on the Hogwarts Express in here might just be the most memorable out of all of it in the entire series. Now, I get it. The scene where they all meet for the first time in Sorcerer's Stone is iconic in and of itself, but I think the scene they have on the train in Prisoner of Azkaban just has a better pace to it. Now, if this is starting to sound repetitive, the best of such and such throughout the whole franchise, good. But you want to talk about dreadful situations. How about when this Dementor pops up on the train, seemingly out of nowhere? Him sucking out Harry's soul, and Ron's description of feeling like he'll never be cheerful again. This is perfectly encapsulated with some incredible cinematography, which is again amongst the best in the entire series. Even the Quidditch match taking place in heavy rainfall has some of the best cinematography you will see through the 8 main films. Now getting back to the train, the Dementor is warded off by Defense Against the Dark Arts professor Remus Lupin, who is played masterfully by David Thewlis, by the way. He never gets enough credit for his work in Prisoner of Azkaban. And finally, a teacher in this subject who is not out to get Harry this time. You know, that is until he turns into a ruthless werewolf by the end. Gross. By the way, there is some brilliant foreshadowing throughout the entirety of the film. The best example is the scene where Snape steps in as his substitute teacher. Turn to page 394. Getting there. I'm working on that impression. But there are just so many amazing teaching moments between Harry and Lupin in this film, ranging from the downright hilarious scene involving the boggart and the ridiculous incantation, all much to Malfoy's chagrin. This class is ridiculous. Ranging all the way to the emotionally powerful when Lupin teaches Harry an advanced piece of magic known as a Patronus. A Patronus charm basically works as a shield against the Dementors with happiness as its trigger. Just excellent, excellent stuff all around, and not just involving Professor Lupin. You want to talk about fun teaching moments? We get to see Hagrid become a professor of care of magical creatures. Not only is Robbie Coltrane just as welcoming as you would expect him to be as a teacher, his lesson is downright iconic, because this is where we're introduced to the majestic Buckbeak the Hippogriff, and oh my god, is he beautiful! The dynamic him and Harry share in this movie, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Harry getting to fly Buckbeak is one of the more iconic moments throughout this entire series, and again, filmed to perfection. Not to mention that the CGI on Buckbeak is remarkable for 2004, in what would obviously turn out to be a great year for cinema. Now, I should also address something that was extremely jarring to me as a kid going to see this in the theater in the summer of 2004. Richard Harris was not playing Dumbledore this time because he had tragically passed away by the time Prisoner of Azkaban started filming. Now, the role of Dumbledore has been filled by Sir Michael Gambon, and his approach to the role, I feel like, is just as excellent as Harris. Now, I don't want to spend too much time comparing the two, and I honestly don't really feel comfortable talking about which one is better, but I think each one had their strengths. In the past 2 reviews in the Potter series, I mentioned Harris as regal. And that's not to say that Michael Gambon isn't, but you can definitely see that both of their interpretations have the quirky mysteriousness of Dumbledore down to a T. With Michael Gambon, though, his iteration feels much more approachable than Richard Harris does. You know what I mean? Richard Harris comes off more like Merlin, the noblest of wise men. Gambon feels like the college teacher who was a lot more inviting and allowed his students to come into his office hours at any time. You know what I'm talking about? Like, when you were walking into Gambon's Dumbledore's office, you never really felt like you were in trouble all the time. With Richard Harris, though, the Chamber of Secrets principal scenes, oh boy, Harry and Ron were in trouble. Now, obviously, I could go on for hours and hours and hours with more examples about why Prisoner of Azkaban is so great. The Marauders map introduction is really freaking cool and has a couple of really intense scenes there. The Hogsmeade sequences expertly expand on this world. But it's this whole third act that I really think makes Prisoner of Azkaban stand out above all the rest. And that all starts with one of the more satisfying moments of comeuppance against young Draco Malfoy here.
Malfoy, you okay? Let's go! Come, quick! Let's go, run!
Not a word to anyone, understood?
That felt good.
Not good. Brilliant.
Another thing I really admire is that they focus a lot more on Hermione this time around, really coming into good use after she was petrified for the whole third act in Chamber of Secrets. This time, Ron is sidelined after suffering a horrific bite from the Grim, who turns out to be an animagus of who else but Sirius Black himself, played by Gary Oldman. And that brings me to one of my favorite scenes of all time, the Shrieking Shack scene. I feel like this is the best storytelling showcase that you'll get throughout the entirety of the franchise. There are just so many, not only powerhouse acting performances from everybody involved, David Thewlis, Alan Rickman, Daniel Radcliffe, as well as the rest of his friends, they're all showing up, guys. But there are just so many twists, turns, and reveals that always leave you on the edge of your seat. Are you going to kill me, Harry? Give me a reason. I beg you. Turns out, though, I alluded to this earlier, big plot twist for me as a kid, Sirius was innocent all along. He was framed because the real person who betrayed Harry's parents, Peter Pettigrew, has transformed himself into a rat and has been under Ron's watch the entire time. Damn you, Scabbers. Man, that's a lot to take in, isn't it? Even more to take in emotionally is that scene that Harry and Sirius share on the riverside where they're actually just looking at the school and they're just catching up on life. And Sirius actually offers to take Harry into his stead as his godfather. Which, let me just say for the record, if I were Harry living in the situation that I was in with the Dursleys, and then a deal is offered to me that's that good on a silver platter, I'm not even hesitating. But then the Dementors come around to ruin all the fun, to suck out Sirius's soul, and the two are saved by an unnamed ally with a stag Patronus. Emotional roller coaster. But believe it or not, the movie gets even better with the back in time sequence. Oh, this is always the coolest part of the film every time I go back and rewatch it. This whole finale with Hermione revealing the nifty time turner necklace, which has allowed her to be in 2 classes at once throughout the entire term. I can only imagine what her vantage point must have been like through 2 classes at a time. But then we see the same events replayed over again, saving Buckbeak along the way. Even though it can come off repetitive on the surface, it always feels fresh. And it all culminates with Harry Potter himself stepping forward as that unnamed ally that I mentioned earlier, with what I consider the most iconic movie moment of my childhood.
Harry!
Expecto Patronum!
remember seeing that for the first time in the theater like it was yesterday. It doesn't get any better than that in my opinion, honestly. Prisoner of Azkaban is supreme tier Wizarding World filmmaking. Alfonso Cuarón really reinvigorated this franchise with the way he directed this film and the way he worked behind the camera, and all the actors showed up to play. I'm gonna give Prisoner of Azkaban an easy A+. Far and away one of the best movies of the franchise, if not the very best. We'll talk about a couple more that actually compete for that title a little bit more down the line. But guys, let me know what you thought of Prisoner of Azkaban down in the comments section below. Is this your guys' favorite Potter film so far? What was your most memorable moment going to see a Harry Potter movie in the cinema? This was my first time seeing a Harry Potter movie on the big screen, and I'll never forget it. I went back a couple more times after that first viewing because I loved the movie so much. It never gets old. It never will. You know what else never gets old for me is creating this content. So if you guys are new to the channel and you enjoyed what you saw today, smash that subscribe button as hard as you possibly can, as well as that little notification bell right next to it. That way you guys can stay in the loop anytime there's a new upload over here. Not to mention that the channel is on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and we are getting so close. So if you guys liked what you saw today, don't forget to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button on your way out, because, you know, that would be tremendous help. And stay tuned for more exciting content hitting this channel very soon. I should be uploading my review for Goblet of Fire, which was my favorite Harry Potter film growing up, actually. I know, as much as I gushed about Prisoner of Azkaban, for some reason as a kid, I loved Goblet of Fire even more. But I can't wait to discuss that movie in more detail with you guys, along with much more else to come. We're also going to be looking at Cyrano at the end of the month. So lots of exciting things to look forward to, guys. Y'all are the best. Now with all that being said, back talk, commence.